Good morning, Fayetteville. This is DENO HONDROS, your council member for District 9. I have with me special guests. Before I introduce them, as always, I'd like to thank WIDU and the Cookmans for letting us have this platform. Always gracious to help keep the citizens of Fayetteville informed. So to my right, I have Chief Patrick McCardle with Fayetteville Fire. How are you?
Fine, sir. Yourself? Thanks for
Blessed,
having us.
more than I deserve. Have Captain Bonazzi from FPD.
Good morning, sir. Thank you.
And Mr. Bob Pinson, a local legend with the Arts Council of Fayetteville and Cumberland County. How are you, sir?
I am doing wonderful. Had a great weekend. Hope you all did too. And thank you, Mr. Councilman, for hosting sessions like this to be able to invite conversation between some of the folks here that provide the services to our community and be able to better inform our community on things that are going on. So thank you and your fellow councilmen.
My pleasure. And
Mayor.
again, all the thanks really goes to WIDU and Wes Cookman and team. Pastor Brinkley's with us today, but you know, they allowed this council conversation series and allow us this platform to help keep the residents of Fayetteville informed. So that's a real great service, I think, that they provide for Fayetteville. And I've said it before on the show. I'm a Fayetteville native by way of Greece. Both of my parents immigrated from Greece. I was born right down the road at Kafir Valley. I think we determined, Patrick, you're a native as well.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And you two guys are foreigners. So, Captain, where are you from originally? Where do you hail from?
Well, at this point, I claim Fayetteville as my home, 25 years now, but born and raised in Queens Village, New York.
And Bob?
And I've got you beat by a couple years anyway. I've been here 37 years, and like so many people, the Army brought me here back in July of 1989 and went to work very quickly with 18th Airborne Corps and then later with the 82nd Airborne Division. So sometimes I feel like an old timer here, and then other times I still kind of feel like a new kid on the block, even after 37 years.
So being of Greek descent, we always joke that everyone wants to be Greek. So that's why all the college pledges have the fraternities and sororities, you know, the quote unquote Greek life. So Captain, to your comment about claiming Fayetteville, because you've been here so long, everybody wants to be from Fayetteville too. I believe Fayetteville's the greatest city in the world, and at least in the country. And it's a testament to the people of Fayetteville. I think it's the people here that is our strength. We have great diversity, and just really, I've lived here. In August will be 50 years, and I've had the pleasure of meeting some of the finest people in the world. So I appreciate all three of you for doing what you do. Bob, I know you're with the Arts Council. The Arts Council is a nonprofit. Tell us a little bit about that, and then maybe some other nonprofits you're associated with.
Sure. So I've been now, like I said, 37 years here in the community. I've been with the Arts Council now for 15 of those years. And being an old military guy, I always like to start out, you know, kind of what our mission is with the Arts Council. And so what we do is we connect our communities. We embrace the diversity, as you just mentioned, Councilman. We promote individual creativity across the community. We foster lifelong learning. I can love to talk about some of the programs that we do in our schools with that. We advance tourism, which is really elevated here in our community. As you know, we have a lot to offer in this community. I'd love to, again, talk more about that. And of course, everything else is economic development through the arts.
Absolutely. And the arts is very important, quality of life and stuff as cities and municipalities grow. One event, I don't know if you all put it on if you're a partner, but is the International Folk Festival.
Oh my goodness, yes. I've been fortunate to be part of the community to attend that event since 1987. We'll be in our about 44th year coming up this year in September 25th and 26th. And what I absolutely love about that, so I've attended it since 1989, but for about the last 15 years, I've been kind of the one that's been running that program. And what's really
so it is an Arts Council event.
Yes, sir. It is an Arts Council event. It's the one event. It morphed over the years from one agency to another,
sure.
but the Arts Council has picked it up now for the last couple of decades anyway, and I don't see it going away anytime too soon for us. We have some, if you've been out there on a Saturday, we have over 35 marching units from different countries. And what makes that parade so unique, those people aren't just representing a country that they picked. they're from that country. They've got
Right.
heritage in that country, and they're very proud of that culture. We've got some 35 countries that will march in that. Over 1,500 people we'll expect again this September 26th at 10
And the
o'clock.
food, yeah. And so we just wrapped up the Dogwood Festival, which
Yes,
is
sir.
a local staple and a kind of a mainstay. You know, for most folks, I think if they've been here long enough, it's kind of a 1A, 1B situation, which one they like best. To me, the International Folk Festival is near and dear to my heart. So going into the 44th year, I remember as a kid, 5, 6-year-old, going to the very first one. And we used to go to every one, you know, representing Greece, obviously. But to see, I think at one time there may have been as many as 50, I could be wrong, countries represented. And here, talking to our partners at the county and Cumberland County Schools, I think there's over 100, I want to say close to 130 or 150 different languages spoken. at
Different
home.
dialects across, exactly right. And as Roy Parker, our city historian, once said, he said, you take a look at that parade, and it's a history of the military deployments of our nation. And he said,
Yep.
not only does it represent those deployments, but you can date the deployment based off the age of the marker. And at that marchers, at that point in time, Germany was coming down the street and said, here comes World War II brides from Germany. And so it truly does show that. And as you mentioned, well over 100 and probably 20 or 30 different dialects in our school system. We're seeing recently, we're starting to see the influx. Again, when you think about the military deployment pieces of things, we're starting to see those people from Saudi Arabia, from Middle East, where Middle Eastern countries are now coming into our region and living in our region. In fact, I'm told that Arabic is the third most spoken language in our school system right now, which is really interesting. So again, as we continue to have that connectivity to our community, it's adding to that diversity. We're starting to see that diversity that's representational of the conflicts that we're having out there right now. But people are moving to Fayetteville, and they're moving to Fayetteville for a reason.
And Fayetteville's on the move. So yeah, and we can't mention the International Folk Festival without the Parade of Nations, and then also the food court.
The food court.
I mean, and people, you know, they'll say, oh, whether it's Fayetteville's not necessarily known as a foodie town per se, as some of the other foodie towns, but I think we got some of the great food. And if we, you know, the chains are as good as the chains can be, but really going to the mom and pops, that's where you really get the local flavor, because you can get, just like is represented in the Parade of Nations, you can get from Vietnamese cuisine, all the different Asian types of cuisine, European cuisine. I mean, there's just about any kind of food you want, you can find in Fayetteville if you look hard enough between the restaurants and the
you certainly can, and it's
trucks.
authentic. And every year I get somebody will suggest that we produce a cookbook from it, because our promenade are really those nonprofit cultural organizations that truly are from those cultures. But every year when they tell me that, it's like, you try to get grandma's recipe out of the Greek groups, you're not going to get it. Either if you do get it, you're not going to get all the ingredients or the sequence of how you put it together.
That's right.
So you're exactly right. And you'll have soldiers that served over in different parts of the world, back even in the 60s, come up and say, I have not had that since I was in Thailand in 1968. And that sort of thing. So it's not only just representational of those countries, it's truly from those countries. And that's what makes Fayetteville so rich, quite honestly.
What makes us the greatest city in the country.
We've got that. We've got that woven into the fabric of our community, that diversity. And we need to capitalize on that diversity and continue to work toward bringing each other together in any way that we can.
Absolutely, I agree. Captain, I know you work out of Central. So every district for everything is different. So PD basically has 3 districts, Campbellton, Cross Creek, and Central. And Central has a large part of my district, District 9, which is also kind of Central Fayetteville. So you all work out of Sycamore Dairy Road?
Yes, sir.
Substation?
Yep, 3811 Sycamore Dairy.
Tell us a little bit about how long have you been on PD?
So in June, it'll be 21 years. Like everybody else, started off in patrol. I spent 8 years working investigations, doing sexual assaults, domestic violence, human trafficking, everything on that victim-centered side of the house. Then I moved back to patrol as a sergeant in the Campbellton district. My lieutenant time was in Campbellton, and then when I made captain, I moved out to Central. I spent a little bit of time in Central on our community empowerment response team, which follows up on Crime Stoppers tips, plays basketball with kids, you know, kind of going into the community. At that point, it was kind of like the crime fighting or community element for the captain at the time.
So in 21 years, you've had a career experience through several chiefs, right? So
Yes.
probably going all the way back to Medlock, or what, did you go back before?
Medlock, I believe I had one before then, a little bit, probably.
Bergamine?
Bergamine, yes.
Yeah.
Bergamine
So
was
it's
my first
Bergamine,
chief.
then Medlock, then Chief Hawkins, I think.
Yep.
Maybe a couple interim in between, and then
And Chief
Chief
Brian.
Braden.
Braden and then Brian, yeah.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about that experience from chief to chief to chief.
So I think where I was at the time, I think each chief was the right chief for the time and the changing times. Especially like Chief Medlock. Chief Medlock, he saw the change, especially with 21st century policing,
Yep.
And how President Obama was looking at changing the culture of law enforcement and community empowerment and togetherness. And then moving into Braden, where we were trying to work on our enforcement efforts of bringing crime down, which he did 2 years in a row, working on that third. And now Chief Brian, I think he is the perfect chief for 2026.
I agree.
Where we're looking at technology, looking at still community engagement, and really bringing the community into the web of fighting crime and togetherness, and really making everybody work together. Strategic alliance with the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office, working even closely with the fire department, just like we did last week with the fire. You know, making sure that our brothers in red are fed and they're taken care of as well, and we're not keeping those resources just to ourselves. But
Yeah, that was almost across the street from Central.
Yep, taking care of the community. There was about 90 displaced people at that time. It's an extended stay, so that's where people are living. Really that extended stay is really probably just a step above being unhoused.
Yeah.
So we take that and it's all their property. So cops and firefighters walking in, helping, escorting people in, helping them carry stuff out. I mean, it's really kind of what Fayetteville is known for now.
Yeah, it was really touching and moving having the chiefs, both Chief Dove and Chief Brian, kind of brief counsel on that before our last meeting last week. That was pretty impressive. Of course, we get the alerts on our email when something significant like that happens. So Sunday morning, late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, we got the email. Of course, I was sleeping when I woke up. I got the email that the event had happened, where the fire had taken place. So, but to hear the actual, FPD, FFD, and all the nonprofits kind of working together, as you mentioned, to try to help these folks, it was really impressive to hear.
Well, if I can add, we also had a few officers just get on the phone and start calling some of the local businesses. Publix sent us some food, Dunkin' Donuts, Krispy Kreme, Walmart. They said, hey, we have this problem, if we can get some food, and they quickly donated. Snyder Memorial Baptist Church came out with their school bus to move people from A to B. Also home security. I mean, the connections to the community and the way they jump in and help on a Saturday morning at dark 30 is just impressive.
Yeah, and as Bob mentioned, it's just kind of the interwoven kind of fabric of this community. It's just hard to match that anywhere. Chief, tell us a little bit. You're from Fayetteville. About your experience growing up here, and then kind of your career. How many years you've been with fire?
22 years, just over my 22-year mark.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about growing up here in Fayetteville, and then a little bit about your 22-year career, and now you're with Hazmat Unit, right? You head
Yes,
that
sir.
up. So a little bit of how you transition. I'm sure you didn't start there, so give us a little.
Well, I got hired with the Big Bang annexation hire back in '04, and they were transitioned to where we had a bunch of promotions and adding the extra stations. So I was actually able to get into Hazmat pretty early on in my career. So about my whole 22 years I've been involved in Hazmat.
Awesome.
Working through the promotions and I've served as the training officer and the logistics chief. And when I made assistant chief, I was able to take over as the Hazmat program manager. So I kind of oversee the Hazmat side. But growing up in Fayetteville, I've enjoyed it. I mean, the town has a lot to offer. When they built the new Woodpecker Stadium downtown, that was a huge plus down there. I remember my father and I going for the inaugural season and everything, and seeing a huge change growing up, watching the Fayetteville Generals, and then switching over to this. It was really, really neat. But just fire department's always been what I've done. I've got hired right out of high school and have made a career of it.
And you went to high school?
71st.
71st, a Falcon.
Yes, sir.
Had some good friends over there. Of course, I'm a Bulldog, so we keep it central. So we're a rivalry source. Of course, when I was in school, we couldn't keep up in basketball or football, but their athletics have got a little better. My son is a freshman now at Terry Sanford, and he's playing soccer and lacrosse. So in the soccer, they had the JV and the varsity team, so he was being a freshman on the JV team. But lacrosse, it's just one team, so he's playing with the big boys, getting beat. He's always bruised up, arms and legs. I'm like, man, what happened to you? So tell us a little bit, when you started with FD, though, even though you kind of started and was in hazmat, worked there kind of your whole career, you weren't probably heading it up, right? So now you're heading it up. So tell us a little bit about that journey.
It's just moving through the ranks. I've always just had that passion for the hazmat. For those that don't know, we cover, of course, the city and the whole county for hazmat responses, but we're also one of the 7 state regional response teams. So Fayetteville is responsible for 11 counties surrounding us.
So you said 1 out of 7?
1 out of 7, yes, sir.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. And so serving on council, we get appointed to different boards and commissions or committees, and some of them are just kind of council committees. Others are joint committees with our county partners and other partners. And so we're recently at a LEPC, the Local Emergency Planning Commission, and the county folks there, they mentioned that your team, like as you just mentioned, covers the whole county, and then to find out it's even more than that. It's actually a territory of 7 or how many? 11 counties.
We cover 11 counties, so we work heavily with our industry partners that have the hazardous materials on site, and we work heavily with other counties and local fire departments. We're just an asset for them.
Yeah.
If the unthinkable happens and there's a chemical release, and they'll call us, we go and help respond and just become part of the response to help mitigate the situation. We have a lot of cool tools and meters and stuff to hopefully stop a leak and detect a leak and all that stuff, and we just show up and assist. We work with the industry partners locally within Cumberland County and of course outside, and helping with drills and their response teams, making sure that everybody's ready so that if that unthinkable does happen when we show up, we have that working knowledge. We've built those relationships with them to work alongside to help mitigate it as quickly as possible with hopefully no life loss and stuff like that.
Now your offices are out of Langdon.
So my office is out of Langdon Street. They're at Station 14.
14.
And then our 2 hazmat stations in the city, Station 1 downtown at on Person Street, and then Station 17 Bailey's Lake Road. So the hazmat truck downtown at Station 1 is the state regional response truck that we use as local response capabilities as well. And then the west side of town is covered by our Hazmat 1, which is the city-owned truck. We kind of split the city county in half for response coverage to get one of the units there quickly.
Bailey's off of
In between Strickland Bridge Road and Bingham Drive.
Bingham, yeah.
Yes, sir.
And that was my next question. Where are the assets? I didn't know if the whole hazmat team was at 14 or if they're split up. So it kind of makes sense to have it kind of east and west, splitting the county up on Person and what is that? Is that 1 or 2? That's 1.
One downtown. Yep, Station 1 downtown.
In 17?
Yes, sir.
We were talking about it before the show. That I try to memorize all the stations. It's almost impossible. I get them confused. But that's one of the LEPC, the Local Emergency Planning Commission is a new commission I'm serving on, and it's been very interesting and eye-opening. People ask me all the time, because I'll go to meetings whether I'm on the committee or not sometimes, and they ask me, why do you go to all these meetings? But if I can learn one thing from every meeting that I sit in, I feel it makes me a better representative for those that I serve. So I'm always interested in that. The LEPC, there's so much information there. I'm definitely learning,
Yes, sir.
not just one thing, several things at every meeting, which I've only had a handful of meetings so far.
You know,
What
you
other-
mentioned multiple counties. You know, that's one of the things sometimes I think our citizens don't really realize how Fayetteville truly is kind of a center of our region here. You know, here at the Arts Council, we actually have some grants that we administer for the state of North Carolina for 5 counties around us. You know, Scotland County, Hoke County, Robinson County, you know, all the way down towards South Carolina are counties that we here in Arts Council Fayetteville, Cumberland County actually administer for the state. And like I said, so, you know, sometimes I think people here don't really realize that Fayetteville really is a center hub, and Cumberland County is a hub to a lot of services that are provided throughout our region.
What are the 5 counties?
Well, it's you could put me on the spot here,
Do you
you know,
have
but
it
it's,
memorized?
but it's you know it's Hoke, Scotland, Robinson, Cumberland. What else is down that area? But basically from here all the way to South Carolina.
Moore, Bladen,
No,
or Simpson?
Moore County doesn't. Harnett County is not ours anymore. We used to have Harnett County years ago, but they've been absorbed by a different. During COVID, the state redistricted some of the areas. So basically, from Fayetteville down 401 toward the South Carolina line, are all those counties with us.
Yeah, and so I also had served on the Salvation Army, the Sandhills, and there are, I think, 6 or 7 counties. So you got, I don't know them either. So, but it's Cumberland, Hoke, Robeson, Moore, Lee, or not Lee, but we go down to Scotland as well.
Scotland.
So, but to your point, you know, just our location, whether it's Southeast North Carolina, that quadrant, we're kind of a hub, or just kind of regionally where we're located. So that was another interesting board or commission that I serve on is FAMPO, the Fayetteville Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, which isn't quite as big territory, but we have all of Cumberland County now, or the majority of Cumberland County, I should say, the southern half of Harnett County, a little piece of Moore County, and pretty much the eastern half of Hoke County. And that pretty much is everything transportation. We work with Division 8 and Division 6 of NCDOT, not just highways, but all roadway improvements from sidewalks to multimodal transportation, bike lanes, and even transit. So that's a interesting one, and I think we'll be going to break here in a couple minutes. But while we do, is there any, tell me about any associations or committees or nonprofits that you guys are involved in?
Wow. So within the police department on the Special Olympics Committee, this Thursday is our torch run, which will be joining forces with the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office. We'll be receiving the torch up at J.P. Riddle Stadium from the Hope Mills Police Department. We'll run that down Southern Avenue, swing past the Sheriff's Office, do some photo ops there, and then continue up Hay Street to the Police Department. Also on our awards board, when officers do great things, their supervisors can write them up for an award. We have that coming up, I believe, in May. Also, I provide a lot of support to my wife, who's on the Connections of Cumberland County board. You know, they help people struggling with homelessness or domestic violence on the verge of homelessness. So they do some great work down there, Connections of Cumberland County. And other than that, wherever else we are needed and my family directs me to, it's usually where I'm at. Anything the department needs as well. I love all the Touch a Truck events that we participate in for the different schools around here. And of course, back in December, I graduated from the FBI National Academy. So part of the National Academy Associates, just had our spring trainer, sorry. So we went to Charlotte for that to see what they're doing and talked about the incident that happened in Charlotte with the officers that got
How many sworn officers on the force have that FBI National Academy?
Right now, we have 2 active members, but throughout the history of the police department, it's about 21.
Gotcha.
And with now Assistant Chief Petty's involvement in their board, the National Academy Associates Board, we keep having the luxury of getting 1 seat every year. So there's 4 classes a year, 10 weeks a class. And he's been able to get now 1 coming up in September as well. So still deciding who's going to go to that.
And across the country, when you have these 4 classes per year, about how many people are in those?
About 250
Wow.
students or participants. It's for the country as well as international.
Oh, wow.
And they're about to hit. They're about to go into their 299th session. 300th is obviously next. And so it's considered the top 1% of the nation get to go to this
Right.
course.
Well, I knew it was pretty exclusive. That's why I was curious to
Yeah.
see what the numbers were. And see, not even sitting in a meeting, just doing a show, and I learned something today. So thank you for that. Chief, any kind of extracurriculars in all your spare free time?
Just kind of helping my kids out. My wife right now is working in Poland, so when she comes back, I'll probably get more involved helping with Army Community Services. That's who she works for. So when she gets back, I'll go back to assistant helping that, and then North Carolina Association of Hazardous Materials, and that's about it. But most of the time, just
Yeah.
spending time with my kids.
Now, do you all have to go to training, and do you provide training
For
with the hazmat?
we do. We send crews all over the place: Las Vegas, Colorado, down to Alabama, Emmitsburg, Maryland. All kinds of different training that we're able to send that's federally funded a lot of the times. This is for the specialized schools, so learning how to respond properly to highway emergencies, rail car emergencies, radiological, explosives and bombs, the different classes at the National Fire Academy, or advanced science dealing with the chemistry side. So there's a mixture of a bunch of those classes.
I got a bunch of questions for training, but I'm getting the signal. We got to go to break. So when we come back, I'll ask you some more about the training. Thank you.
President Donald Trump says the U.S. will guide stranded ships through the Strait of Hormuz. It is Hurricane Preparedness Week in North Carolina. Governor Josh Stein and meteorologists are telling us to get ready. Federal investigators say a United Airlines plane en route to Newark Airport in New Jersey clipped a light pole and tractor trailer on the New Jersey Turnpike. Plane landed safely. No one on board was injured. At Charlotte Douglas International Airport, construction is underway on a brand new fourth parallel runway. A new partnership between the airport and UNC Charlotte is bringing cutting-edge technology to that runway. In northeastern North Carolina, Dominion Energy has filed for a rate hike. More than half of North Carolina is still in extreme drought, but fire ban has been lifted for 81 counties. Mike Rayleigh, NCI News.
I'm Jamie Monticelli, WIDU Radio News. The North Carolina Forest Service has lifted a ban on all open burning for 81 counties, effective at 8 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, May 3rd. The statewide ban on open burning went into effect March 28th due to hazardous forest fire conditions. The lifting of the burn ban does not apply to fires started within 100 feet of an occupied dwelling. The local fire marshal has authority to issue or lift a burn ban within those 100 feet. Quick note, the city of Fayetteville says splash pads are now open. They are free to use. Cumberland County Schools say the annual Children's Mental Health and Wellness Fair highlights the importance of supporting the well-being of every child while bringing families together for a morning of fun and resources. Check out the student performances like the Walker Spivey Elementary Step Team. It is set for May 9th, 8 a.m. until 11 a.m. at Festival Park. The 1 mile walk for suicide prevention starts at 8:30 a.m. From WIDU Radio, I'm Jamie Monticelli.
This morning starting out with a little bit of a chill in the air. Temperatures mainly beginning in the 40s. As we head into the afternoon, expect high temperatures to range between about 78 and 82 degrees. We're under a mostly sunny sky. Overnight, not quite as cool, mainly clear. Temperatures in the mid-50s heading into first thing Tuesday morning. Tuesday's partly cloudy and warmer with highs 80 to 85 degrees and nighttime lows in the low 60s. I'm meteorologist Chris Michaels in the NCN Weather Center.
Bless the Lord. I'm Dr. Ann T. Newell, pastor of the Soul Harvest Apostolic Church, the church not just there in the community, but there for the community of Spring Lake, North Carolina. We're looking for more than a few good men and women to join the team. Iron sharpeneth iron. We may have what you need. You may have what we need. Catch the vision. Join the team. Join Wake Up.
This is Pastor Wilbert Blandon Jr. of Antioch Bible Fellowship Ministries, and you're listening to Wake Up. This is Pastor Neil of the New Covenant Christian Faith Church Ministries, 5427 Murkison Road, and I am proud to be a member of Wake Up.
Welcome back. This is DENO HONDROS, your representative for City Council in District 9 for the City of Fayetteville. Chief, before we went on air, we're talking about hazmat training, and we had mentioned earlier the LEPC, the Local Emergency Planning Commission. In the last meeting we had, they mentioned a training you all did in Harnett County recently. Tell us a little bit about that.
We try to do outreaches with the local departments and local industries to go out and just show what our capabilities are and work alongside of them, build those relationships. So when that unthinkable does happen, we already have that working relationships, and when we pull up on site, that asset that we're bringing to them is just a little bit more helpful. So the one in Harnett County, we took our decon side of our hazmat team out there and worked with the local fire departments and showing them how to properly set up the decon line and all the steps. That's really what we heavily rely on whenever we have a response. We're responding with anywhere from 12 to 15 hazmat team members when we go out to these responses. Depending on what the incident is, our personnel are going to start being used heavily. So we start losing personnel for some of the smaller tasks, and that's when we reach out for the local fire departments to assist with the decon side or medical monitoring side, stuff like that. So when we go do these outreach trainings, that's what we're doing, is working alongside with them to educate them on what capabilities we have.
And we were talking earlier before the break about, kind of the regionalization and how different departments or entities within the city kind of partner with neighboring municipalities and counties. And I want to say I remember there was a brief before one of our council meetings about the FD going to Western North Carolina after Helene, some of that recovery.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us a little bit about, were you there or any of your team? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I spent 2 weeks up there myself. It was a twofold thing. So our local our USAR team, Task Force 9, was sent up there to assist with their recovery efforts up there. And we also sent one of our fire investigators up there and myself to assist Asheville Fire Department with helping respond to incidents and calls. So that first week I spent up there assisting Asheville Fire Department, running as a battalion chief for them at the time. And then the second week we did a RRT deployment, which was the hazmat side, assisting with the city of Asheville, going around looking for any hazards, the multiple propane tanks and different chemicals that had spilled, identifying them.
That's another thing that's amazing to me, and we kind of mentioned on the show before, not just, of course, I'm partial to Fayetteville and Cumberland County being from here, but the state of North Carolina really, in the last decade, has become first in a lot of things. And, one of the top states, I think we're number 2 or 3, where people are migrating here from all over the country. So it's always kind of cliche, people move from up north and come down south, and we're kind of midway between New York and Florida, so people kind of stay in North Carolina. But we do have the beautiful climate. You got 4 seasons, you got the mountains, you got the coast, but instead of just folks from the Rust Belt or just up north moving here, I mean, in the last decade, I've met folks from all over, and we do have the military. Fort Bragg obviously it makes us a little more transient than other communities, but these are folks that have moved here that I met, that I'm referring to, that had no ties to the military. So they're coming from California, they're coming from the Midwest, they're coming from all over, and we just have a lot of things going for us, from the state legislature making taxes competitive to again, I mentioned the climate, our location, and then just in the last, I think the last three out of the 4 years, we're number 1 in the country for business. And the other year that we weren't number 1, we were number 2. And then here locally, Fayetteville, in the last 3 years, I believe, or 4, we were number 1 in the country for African American small business ownership, LLCs and stuff like that. And the one year that we came in second, which was either 24 or 25, we were second to Atlanta. You know, so I mean, we have a lot of things going for us that we don't often give ourselves the credit. But I say that you kind of prompted when we're talking about the helping out in Western North Carolina after that disaster, how we help each other out. And during that Helene recovery, I think our 911 PSAP, our 911 operators, even at some point took calls, fielded calls because they were offline. So it's incredible, the redundancies. And I think Durham, Fayetteville has an operating agreement or some kind of cooperation agreement with Durham, where if ours go down, I think Durham is the first person to pick ours up, and vice versa. If Durham goes down, I think we pick up their calls. So it's incredible, those partnerships. And of course, when it comes to first emergency response and first responders, you want to have those redundancies built in, right? Because you can't not work, right?
It was definitely a testament up there of how well, especially the hazmat RRT programs work. RRT 1 out of Williamston was the initial team that went up there. And then the second week, it was a mixed team between Asheville's regional team, ourselves from Fayetteville. We had RRT 2 out of Wilmington and RRT 4 out of Greensboro, 5 out of Greensboro. All of us come together to form one RRT team and work together. And you would have never known we were multiple different municipalities up there at the same time working, just because we all train the same and all have the same equipment. It worked flawlessly, thankfully, for the citizens up there, and it definitely a rewarding experience to be able to help with the devastation that was up there.
Sure.
Well, and speaking of dispatch and a communication system, I mean, just the idea of our dispatchers, you don't expect to take calls like that, you know, just natural disasters up in the mountains, like you don't expect that. You work in the sandhills. And, you know, we had to provide a lot of counseling support for those dispatchers and call takers, because I don't want to hear those calls. Those are hard things to listen to. At least the officer, you go to a scene, you see bad things, you're trained to see bad things, but you also know the outcome of the bad things.
Right.
Dispatcher just hears those things and you don't know. So there were some traumatic calls there, and I give them their just deserves for that. You know, it's hard work. And sometimes they get forgotten about, so we try to remember, especially Communications Week that we just had maybe 2 weeks ago. You know, so you did some good things for them as well.
And that's one thing, you know, we talk about, you know, pay and benefits and those things. We, as council, we've tried to be supportive and provide both FD and PD with the tools you need to be successful. But one thing we talk about the community in general is mental health and kind of the lack of enough mental health support. And I know both Chief Dove and Chief Brian have kind of tried to incorporate that into both departments. Can y'all speak a little bit to that? Whoever wants to go first.
We've thankfully just got our second crisis response dog,
Yep.
Which is
Lucy?
her name, Lucy. Yep. So we have Griffith and Lucy, which is one on each shift. They have proven to come in very handy, especially with the recent bad calls we've had. It's amazing to watch those dogs work. They can pick out who's having that hard time, and they'll go straight up to them and sit there and love on them. And you'll see somebody that is like, I don't like dogs, but all of a sudden they're got that dog in their lap cuddling on it, and it has proven very beneficial for our organization, bringing these crisis response dogs in. And then we have our peer support team within the department and our chaplains corps, which have been beneficial very much to our members. And so Chief Dove has taken a very strong hold on ensuring that our mental well-being of our first responders are good, and the crisis response dogs are available to the PD and EMS and everything if needed. They have been very beneficial.
And we have Archie. Archie is Sergeant Burton's dog that was donated to us. It was her dog and then donated to the Police Foundation, so they helped us out with that. And same thing, peer support. We use Thrive for online telehealth and all the other resources. but and they're always at our fingertips chaplain program as well. So sorry, you may say.
No, Councilman, you're hitting home for Arts Council now. One of the things I've said is, as bad as COVID was, one of the things that COVID showed us was how important arts and culture and community were to our own mental health. And mental health is a big problem in our community, and it has gotten worse since COVID. You see more people under therapy now coming out of it. Arts and culture used to be kind of looked at more as entertainment for the wealthy. Somebody could afford the ticket price. It's not that anymore. It's absolutely essential to who we are as individuals. So when you take a look at what we at the Arts Council of Fayetteville Cumberland County, and I do want to piggyback off our partnership, because I would really be remiss. We're talking about how we're working in partnership out with other counties and other areas within our state. One of the things I'm most proud of in my 37 years here in this community is how we as a community are starting to work better in partnership. You're hearing about how you all work with fire and how the Fay PD. There are umpteen numbers of nonprofits out there working together behind doors that nobody ever sees. I never hear those conversations, working together in partnership. So what we've done, with the Arts Council, some of the programming that we've done is we use people to work with people. So we've worked very closely in sync with the City Council's priorities of getting the Parks and Recreation Department out into more than just sports, getting them out there into using those rec centers for other things. So right now we've got a program that's Arts Resources for Elders. We actually put teaching artists in our 2 senior centers that actually engage in hands-on art programs with seniors out in the senior centers. We're 51 years old now. For 49 years, we've been putting teaching artists in the schools to engage those students with art and culture. And what studies continue to show is when we do engage those students, they show up more often. They come to class. And guess what? Since they come to class more often, they graduate at higher percentage rates than other people that don't. They also then continue their education, be it through FTCC or Methodist or Fayetteville State, one of these other institutions that we've got here. They continue the education. And then the other piece that's really interesting to me is they are better engaged in the community. They come out and vote more because they're more engaged in the community. And so, everything that we're talking about here, working in partnership, and then, like I said, with the mental health aspects of things, I could go on and on and on through the various programs that we have. Our public art program on the street is a mental health piece. We're bringing people together in conversation on the street. We're elevating conversation in our community to bring this community diverse together. So, I absolutely love where our community is going. I love the leadership that both our mayor and our county commissioners are showing, and our city councils are showing every day, because quite honestly, we need that leadership right now at our elected officials levels to continue to move us together in the right direction, because we've got the passion. You see the passion in this room. We've got the passion. We've got the people that want to be involved in that. We continue to need the leadership that we have. And then one last plug is I really appreciate sessions like this, Mr. Councilman, that talk about what's going on in the community. And if the citizens that are listening to this aren't aware of those sessions that are out there in the community, I think our city council and our county commissioners are doing a yeoman's job of trying to get out there and be more transparent. But we as citizens must come out and attend those. We've got Doug in the district. He comes around to each one of the districts. It's our opportunity as citizens to talk to our elected officials, educate them on what's going on in our district so that they can make better informed decisions.
Sure.
Because like it or not, but one of the things that I've learned over the years is that we as citizens absolutely have to realize that we don't necessarily know all the facts around any given issue. We have to trust our elected officials to be able to be educated and informed on making those decisions, and then trust those decisions. And no, they're not always going to be popular, but we have to take a look that perhaps they know some things that we might not know, or we may not be thinking about, or quite honestly, we might not have the vision. So many of us get so focused on what's going to impact on us and our lives, we're not thinking about that vision of the future. future. We're not thinking about our children or our grandchildren. And those are the things that our elected officials, I think, are really focusing on now. But they need our input. And so again, as citizens, get out there, go to those sessions, raise your hand, speak, inform our elected officials so they can make the best decisions possible. I'll get off my soapbox.
There's so much to unpack there. I'm gonna try to hit two or three. So the one, we're talking about arts in school. So I was always a doodler, still a doodler. I'll be in a meeting and I'll be doodling. But I always liked with graphite, just with a pencil, just kind of black and white and shading. That was kind of my interest. But all kind of when I think of art, the art that interests me is painting or on a medium, right? Actually drawing something. Music, I can't carry a tune worth of licks. I enjoy listening to music, but as far as me, in music class when I was in school, I wasn't good at it, so it didn't, and arguably if I was good at the art, but I enjoyed it. But there's a release there, and then, we're talking about mental health, so it felt good when I was being artistic, and then it felt good looking at it afterwards, right? But I think arts inspire or wake up our creative juices. So when you say, then they become more involved in the community, more involved voters, it's all, I think, that creativity.
Exactly. We just closed out the High School Art Show, which is an annual exhibit that the art teachers across Cumberland County produce every year. And invariably, I will have an art teacher say, Bob, come here and take a look at this piece. This is Johnny's work. Johnny is the biggest problem child in our high school until he comes to art class, and he's got a chance to be able to use art as a way to release what's going on in his head. And so, art allows you to do that, but even greater sense is it allows you to have those conversations. We're getting ready to have the Public Works, Fayetteville Public Works Commission. We're fortunate in our community to have our own utility company, PwC. PwC has been sponsoring probably for 20, 25 years, Public Works, and that is where the public can bring in work. It's not juried. We bring it in, and we try to hang every piece that we have with that. We've got a very, very talented community here, but when you look at those pieces, some of them are joyous and some of them aren't. But the piece that I love about art, and you're starting to hear more and more artists say it, is when I ask, what was your vision? It's like, no. What do you see in that? Because, Councilman, you may look at a piece of art and you may be laughing. So you'll bring back a memory of childhood and just joyous. I may look at that same piece and bring back something and I'll start crying over it, But we have those conversations together while we're looking at it. We get a better understanding of who we are. And at the same time, neither one of those is wrong. They're both right. And hopefully we can walk away together just
I want to touch on something
other.
else you said. So one of my biggest frustrations before I got into elected public service was the pace at which government moves, because it seems to be I call it a glacial pace. Other people have kind of compared it to like an aircraft carrier where it's hard to change the direction of that big old ship once it's in motion. And that's still a frustration of mine, but communication or kind of lack thereof, or the different agencies, departments kind of operating in silos where you have the city over here, you have the county over here, you have the hometown utility over here, and they're talking amongst each other, but they're not necessarily talking with each other. And, I often say communication kind of solves a lot of problems, and lack of communication creates a lot of problems. So, as you mentioned, I think our mayor and this council, the chairman of the current Board of Commissioners, that whole board, and the leadership over at PwC, I think are we perfect? Probably not, but I think it's the best it's been in a long time. And I think we've created that foundation where we can continue to build on it. So hopefully that'll ring true. And I know you guys are probably wanting to jump in, so feel free, because we've been dominating the conversation there. But and that's why I like to do these shows. But you're absolutely right, Bob. A lot of our shows will have on people from the advisory boards. The city has 26 advisory boards and commissions. Great way to get involved, see how your local government works. And have your voice heard, right? It's another way of engaging. But I go to community meetings, community watch meeting, or just a community meeting, or just another public event, and I talked about all these meetings we sit in, and someone will ask me about a particular thing that they have an interest in, good or bad, and it's hard in all the meetings we sit in as elected public servants, whether it's a council meeting, whether it's a committee meeting, whether it's another meeting. If I sit in those meetings an hour at a time, we talk about this particular thing for 10 or 15 minutes once a week, for a year or for a quarter, that's hours worth of information. It's almost impossible to convey all of that information to a resident when they ask about it in a 5 or 10 or even 15-minute conversation, right? So I say that to kind of piggyback on your point. And I always say, any resident, whether you live in my district or not, I believe as an elected public servant, you have a right to question anything I've said, any vote I've taken, because I serve you, right? But at the same time, you mentioned something that resonated with me about, you do your research, you elect your elected public service. At some point, you have to trust them. Now, I say that with an asterisk or a caveat. Yeah, trust us, but always still question us, hold us accountable, right? One doesn't alleviate the other. But it's just hard to, sometimes I'll look at, as an example, and I have friends on the County Board of Commissioners, I'll look at their board and hear something or watch a snippet of their meeting and something they're talking about. I'm like, why did they do that? But to your point, I don't have all the information on that thing that they have. So as I said, they're some of my friends, my colleagues, or counterparts at the county. I have to have faith that and trust them that they're making the best decision for us as a county resident. You live in the city, you're still a county resident. So, but I agree. Operating in silos isn't good. Sometimes I feel like council, as a mayor and 9 council members from 9 different districts, sometimes we operate as a cohesive unit, and other times it appears that we're operating in silos. So, and I think it goes to communication. Whenever I feel that maybe we're not as cohesive as maybe we could be or we have been in the past, I look in the mirror and say, what can I do? Maybe I need to reach out to some of my colleagues on council and start having a conversation about this particular thing, because we're not in sync as well as we could be. So,
yeah, I just hope and pray that our citizens will take an active role into these opportunities. If you haven't been to coffee with the mayor, you're really missing a huge opportunity to sit there and hear exactly what's going on. That's not filtered through Google. It's not filtered through the press. It's right from the horse's mouth, if you will, with our mayor or any one of these city council meetings that we have that are out there in the community. It's your chance to do that. I'm often reminded, and again, the council is looking at some very tough issues, and they're always looking at tough issues. But I guarantee you that back in the 70s, when a city council came together and decided to build Cross Creek Mall, where they built it on a bunch of blank farmland sitting out there, that probably wasn't a very popular decision at the time. But can you imagine District 9 without Cross Creek Mall sitting in it?
It's the heart of District 9, so yeah, that'd be a whole different district.
I can remember some of the older members, in our community talking about when Cape Fear Valley Hospital was placed where Cape Fear Valley Hospital was. The leadership at the time was criticized tremendously, because why would you put a hospital out in the middle of the country? And can you imagine Cape Fear Valley Hospital being felt like it's out in the middle of the country and where it's going now? But when it was built at the time, there was a tremendous uproar in our community over putting this hospital out in the middle of the country. You need to put it closer to downtown where the people are. So again, I go back to, we as people need to trust our elected officials, keep them informed, talk to them, stay involved in our community.
We said earlier on break we could talk all day. We're getting the signal. Last question: favorite food?
Favorite food?
Or dessert?
Really, anything Italian. I love good Italian
favorite food.
Well, you said favorite dessert, chocolate peanut butter.
Bob?
Chocolate pudding.
My son loves chocolate. I'll have to go with steak. And thank you all for listening. Hopefully you've learned something. I learned something today. And we'll see you soon. God bless.